What's up, everybody in YouTube land? Yep, finally got it. A year and 9 months later. Finally got the Bronco. So I'm gonna be doing a series of videos for different mods I plan on doing in the future. So you might want to subscribe and follow and like if you want to see some more mods coming down the road. I'm gonna try and keep my mods as cost conscious as I can, because I just think that realistically, when we look at mods online, all you see is these inflated prices. That a lot of companies are asking big money for their stuff, and in time that will fall, but for right now I'm just sort of doing the cheaper aspects of things, try and keep things under a budget. It's not a very cheap vehicle to own. The gas mileage, yeah, it's about 18 if you're light. If you're really light on the pedals, about 18 on a 4-door model with the 2.7 liter. So I'm gonna give one idea out there to everybody that has Broncos, that's looking for a more cost-conscious way of doing things. So let's go inside the cab and I'll show you what I've got in place here. All right, so what I've got is a rail system. The rail system came from Amazon. It's made by a company called Mabet, I believe. There's a host of other Chinese companies doing these exact same rails. I think they just copy each other out of the same factory, throw some different names on there, name it a different LLC, get a tax break, who knows. Amazon's good for that, for just about any product you want to look at. So I didn't want to get the BYOD, which is one of the more US made rail systems you can get for the Bronco. Not that I couldn't afford it, but it was just ridiculously expensive. 200 and some plus, I think. I might even be off on that by 100 or more. Ford was not great at developing the Bronco when it came to the rail system up front. They did a single attachment point for the rail system, and you can see that up there. There's one set screw, or one screw you can tighten down right here where my finger's at, and it's the only point that you can tie down to supply any stability to the rail. And you got to consider, when you start throwing stuff on a rail, especially if it's stuff that's hanging out, whether it be cup holders, phone holders. Some phones are fairly large, some phones have extended batteries on them and all this stuff, and you can imagine what happens if you get one out here to the end. This edge will start to lift up. Okay, the Mabet system is, the worst part about it is that it has a plate in the middle that locks down that this rail slides into. So the middle is sort of useless. Not that I really cared that it was useless, because there's a way to manipulate things to get it to where you can still put stuff in the middle. As you can see, I've already got something installed there that's pretty much in the middle of the console. It's a little off to the right towards the passenger seat. So what this is, when I got it, the problem with it was the ends not being very stable. So when you get stuff on here and you get all that weight going on it, you start having this edge lift up. So what I did to kind of counteract that is a play on physics. So I wanted to supply more tension to the center where it actually does anchor down, so that it would apply more tension to the outside edges. How I did that, I don't know if you can see it or not. There is a piece of rubber that is underneath that. And that's some kind of flooring we had at work left over that was done for cushioning under some cork tile or something that we had. And all I did is, like, when you get that rail, what you end up getting is there's like a thin strip of 3M adhesive on the back side. Now on the back side of this thing, underneath, is a hollowed out grid of metal, and the 3M adhesive only sticks to about probably less than 5% of that surface area. So really the 3M adhesive is not bonding very well to the foot of this particular rail system. The rail system itself is pretty solid. It's made out of some kind of metal. It's not like solid billet aluminum or anything like that. It's just a cheap pop metal of some sort. But what I did is I took and I found that rubber, 1/4 inch, I think it's about 1/4 inch thick rubber. I took the foot off because these feet on the ends, they come off. They actually come in the kit without them attached, and you have to attach them to get it mounted up, you know, on the rail. So I cut out those feet to match the same dimensions of this foot that touches the dash. Then what I did is I applied 5-minute epoxy on the inside chambers of that metal with this upside down. And I filled it almost all the way full, just where there was a slight bit of bubbling over the top, to where it was a little higher than the chamber, because I wanted it to fill the cavity full enough that when I stuck that foot to it, that it would have full surface area contact to that rubber foot. So I attached that to the bottom, let it get hard. When it was about halfway done curing, after about, I don't know, about probably 4 to 5 minutes, it's still a little bit on the tacky side at that point. Then if you have any excess that's came out the sides, you can rub that off with your fingers, or take a razor knife and slightly trim it off. That works, and it'll make it fit better. So then when I put the rail onto the center, it actually makes that screw about 1/4 inch higher. And then when you tighten that screw down, it has, because this is a straight bar, it actually puts more force on the end, and makes it so that it's more anchored to the end without actually being physically anchored with a screw or something. Because I wanted to try to do all this stuff without doing any modifications to the Bronco whatsoever. So I want to modify the products in order to make them fit in the Bronco, not modify the Bronco to fit the products. That way, if I ever go to sell it for any reason, I can just take the stuff all back off, and it's, just like normal. These pieces here, this is a 1-inch ball, and this is going to be more familiar to people that have kayaks, because we all have rail systems on our kayaks. A lot of people do. So what this is a 1-inch ball, and the light, of course, is failing me because it's getting kind of late, but this is a 1-inch ball, and it's made by a company called Brovan or Brovan, something like that. And it's also on Amazon, of course, Chinese company. And it's a 1-inch ball made out of aluminum with a coating of rubber on it. Holds pretty good. And then I've got this 3-inch, it's basically a coupler for one ball to another ball. And I bought several of these so that I could keep daisy chaining them out to get whatever I need out towards the passenger or the driver. My wife didn't, there's not a whole lot of space in here for my wife to go putting her, little knickknacks that she carries around, phone, various other things. So I tried to keep in the spirit of giving her a little bit more comfort. Let me get the light on here. Tried to give her a little bit more comfort. Let me